Beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring me down, so don't you bring me down today. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're lifting that trophy up at the end of 17 days, you've got to be some very special snooker player indeed. You are the master of the world.
That's the reason why I wanted to become a snooker player. Is to come to the Crucible Theatre at Sheffield and to lift that beautiful trophy.
Very few people get to kiss that lady on top of the trophy. When you do, you never forget it.
I felt that everything here belonged to me. This was my championship, it was my trophy. I hated anyone else lifting it, even now.
When you become world champion, you want to give that beautiful little lady a kiss and you say, you're mine for the next year.
We are beautiful, no matter what they say. Yes, words can bring us down. Oh, so don't you bring me down today.
Good evening from the Crucible Theatre on one of the great nights in British sport. Golf has Tiger Woods, tennis has Roger Federer, darts has Phil the Power Taylor, but snooker has Ronnie O'Sullivan, and he is on the verge of something extra special this evening. After a year-long sabbatical, the return of the Rocket could culminate in a 5th world title. So what can 80-to-1 shot Barry Hawkins do to stop him? We're about to find out in the last session of this year's Betfair World Championship.
3 sessions, 2 men, 1 goal. This is the story of the final so far.
1, the dominant force in the game, a Goliath of the Green Bays, defending his championship.
The other, a giant killer, blessed with snooker steel, a fearless pretender and certainly up for the fight. Barry struggled to settle.
Ronnie had the cue ball on the string. Suddenly it was 2-0.
But then the Hawk turned the procession into a match and took 3 on the spin.
The Rocket was full of doubts about the table and trailed for the first time in the tournament. But he exploded into life, producing back-to-back centuries and led 5-3.
That was the finest snooker session of the championship.
As night drew in, the evening session provided drama to match.
Barry showed grit and resolve, digging deep and levelling at 7-all.
Ronnie looked rattled. How would he respond? Like a champion, 2 more century breaks.
And then O'Sullivan took a dramatic final frame to lead 10-7 overnight. Yes, Hawkins couldn't afford to lose those tight frames if he wanted to inflict some mental scars.
Sunday belonged to O'Sullivan, the greatest front runner in the game.
The final was still very much alive at the start of Monday afternoon.
Having split the opening 2 frames, there was an astonishing clearance from Ronnie, and now he was 4 up.
Barry responded forcefully to give his fans hope.
But the Rocket hit the afterburners. He powered first to his 5th and then his 6th century break of the final, a new Crucible record.
So now it's 15-10. Can Barry win it, or is this Ronnie's final to lose?
Einstein said that time was an illusion, but on the biggest day of your career, it's nothing of the sort.
From the moment the last ball drops in the afternoon, time is your only reality.
On the clock, it marches forward, second by second, minute by minute.
But in the mind, anticipation slows it, and fear makes it pass in a rush.
You think you're killing time, but sometimes it's time that's killing you.
It can be your friend or your enemy.
But whatever the speed of your own reality, the crucible clock is still ticking.
A quarter century of routine as 0 hour approaches. Your past, present and future are about to collide in the famous arena.
The question is, has your time come?
Or has his?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barry Hawkins! Please welcome the defending champion, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan!
Well, the crucible is crackling with noise and excitement this evening. Ronnie needing just 3 more frames if he's to claim back-to-back world titles. Barry Hawkins has a possible 10 more frames tonight to try and turn things around. And ready for action in the commentary box, we have the 7 times champion of the world, Stephen Hendry, and Mr. Maximum himself, Willie Thorne. Good evening, gentlemen.
You've got a good memory, Hazel. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, everybody. The climax of this year's Betfair World Snooker Championship. Barry Hawkins breaking off in the 16th frame, and boy has he put a fight up to Ronnie O'Sullivan. There's been a couple of frames he lost in this match that he perhaps could have won, so it could have been oh so much closer, but O'Sullivan, every time his back's against the wall, Stephen, he's produced.
Yeah, he's found another gear, hasn't he? When you look at the 3 sessions, Ronnie's won 2 of them 5-3 and the other one 5-4. So mathematically it's not been easy, but the way he's gone ahead of Barry whenever he's been in trouble has looked easy.
Well, the first mistake of the evening has gone to Ronnie O'Sullivan, but he doesn't appear to have done any damage. Missed the long putt by quite a long way, but unlucky to going off. This is just a case, Stephen, isn't it, to just play no miss snooker really for Barry to get back into the match.
Yeah, I must admit this first frame is huge for Barry if he wants to, at the very least, take this final into the 2nd session tonight. I feel if Ronnie wins the first frame, he might go in and win the next 2. That's an excellent safety. He's loved this, Willie, this final. He's really enjoyed it.
I'm so pleased for Barry. There was his family. We saw a shot of them. Father Steve, Caroline, mother, sister Tanya, and they've absolutely been enthralled the way Barry's. But we've all known that Barry's been a great player for a long, long time. But after the semi-final, he must have been a little bit embarrassed the way he played. But this final is proved to everybody that he's a force to be reckoned with.
Well, it's an excellent reply from O'Sullivan. Again, back to Barry. Yeah, I hope he just takes all the positives from this World Championship and goes into the new season believing he can be a multiple winner, not just maybe one ranking tournament season, win 2 or 3.
Taking this pot on, the one that's just below the pink spot there, there's the pot success rate. Barry over 91%. Normally, that would be enough to be in front in a match, but when you're playing O'Sullivan, things are not quite normal sometimes. And you think they've played 25 frames and he's still got a 94% pot success rate. Incredible, really. Red going over the corner, needs the blue or yellow to come to his rescue. And there may be a gap, not quite though. Well, obviously no problem getting back into baulk, but he feels it's too risky to try and cover the red, so he's just playing the roll up here. He's got to be careful in going off. Because if he doesn't push the red safe and goes in off, he'll be in trouble. Well done. Excellent pot. Excellent pot. And perfect on the green or the brown. These give you so much confidence, Steve, don't they, when you knock one of these in?
Yeah, you would think if he'd missed that, the cue ball would be careering into the reds, and he'd be certain to leave Freeman an opportunity on. But as you say, it gives you great confidence to pot them. Perfect angle in the green. Can virtually put the cue ball where he wants from that position.
And he's not done very well, to be honest. He'd have liked to have been on the two reds to the right-hand side of the pack. The red in the middle, hampered queuing is not straightforward.
In the end, he'd done well to pot this, but he was only able to concentrate in the pot. Couldn't play position. Couldn't get the right side of the blue. So this is a tester. I'll screw back for the blue. You've got to hit these right.
10.
Stephen mentioned had to go up for
11.
blue or ball colour there. And it all depends about the red above the black. If that pot's in the corner pocket, you've got every chance of in a few seconds time, a few shots time, bringing that black into play. You need to be on the blue though to get onto that red. Well, mind you, it looks like he's played for it now. Needs to slow up a little bit. Needs to put the brakes on. Just
14.
got the wrong angle on the. He's seeing if he can finish on the black. There you can see the angle is not good. If that cue ball would have stopped 2 or 3 inches before that, he'd have been able to get onto the black. He still feels though he might be able to.
15.
Yeah, done very well there. Looked to didn't have the angle to get this close to the black. Really had to nip the cue ball there.
I think that was a prime example, Stephen, what is a player pinching the pocket, you know, playing it off a jaw. That's how good these players can be when they're in stroke, and Barry Hawkins obviously cueing
22.
very well now. Had to get the black back into play. He's done that. Well, he's perfect on the red in the right-hand corner, but obviously the black's not available into the left-hand corner, so he's looking for a chance to go top side of the blue again. Oh, didn't quite get it just right.
23.
So unless he pots a good yellow, that could be under break. Got to swing it round in between brown and pink and off 2 cushions and back on a red in the left-hand corner, because that's where you can get onto the black if he gets onto one of those reds. Needs to miss that blue.
25.
That really is a fantastic shot with the rest. To control the cue ball, you've got to keep so still. The cue's got to go in such a straight line. And now this is a frame winning opportunity after that shot.
It's the only department that Barry's not competing, is the break building department, winning frames at one
33.
visit. I mean, he's had more table time than Ronnie O'Sullivan in this match. He's had 51% of the table time, so he's been on the table more than Ronnie.
34.
Just got to start making every chance a frame winning chance, and this is the one. You'd be very disappointed if you didn't win the frame from here.
$41. $42. $49.
53-point lead. So 2 more reds, 2 blacks at least, and they've done what Stephen suggested he needed to do, just to let Ronnie O'Sullivan
50.
knows he's not going to lie down, take the match beyond the interval. And there's the magnificent view from this packed Crucible crowd. That's what they're seeing. Looking good, Stephen.
Yeah, this is fabulous.
57.
As we've seen before, fantastic long red. And has capitalised on that superbly.
58.
And here we show you this with long red again. That was a must-make shot.
And of course then as the crowd applaud for the fact that he's got Ronnie O'Sullivan in the snooker's required situation.
65.
He played an excellent shot with the rest a little later on in that break where he had to pot it. So great to see Barry
66.
playing well.
And it's a sign
73.
of, obviously, the respect Ronnie's given Barry. The fact that every time he's got close, Ronnie's felt the need to raise a gear.
74.
To stay in front. He's had to play brilliant snooker to stay ahead of Barry.
mentioned a few moments ago that the only thing he
81.
needed to improve was his scoring winner and frame at one visit. He's done that now. He's only had one century in this match, but it was a fabulous break of 133. Ooh.
82.
The reason he rolled through slowly like that because he's left now the perfect angle on the, as we see this red struddling, the angle he's got now is perfect to knock the other red off the cushion. Well done. Does the red still pass the blue? It does.
89.
And this is when you want to produce your best snooker, Will, isn't it? Live, Monday night, live on the BBC, the final session of the World Championship. There's no better place to play your best snooker.
I never found out, Stephen, but I'll have to agree with you because you obviously did it on 7 occasions.
92.
But this is really
93.
top draw. Well played, Barry Hawkins. His 5th century of this tournament, warmly appreciated by the packed audience. His family applaud as well. His 55th century of the Crucible this year. And there's been 8 centuries in this final now, which actually ties the record. And that, just to remind Stephen, was the Ebden-Henry game.
105.
And they had 4 centuries each.
$109. 140.
Needs an angle on this pink, and I don't think he's got a good angle. He'll do really well to get past the middle pocket here. So much so,
120.
he may be doubling the black. Or trebling the black. It's close. Trust me, it's close. Trust me, it's really close. Well, that's the way to start your first Crucible final with a magnificent total clears of 127. He wins the first frame of the evening session and closes to 4 frames. That's 15-11.
Well, it is amazing. So many people expected a walkover effectively in this final for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Barry Hawkins is giving as good as he gets, and what a fillip to your whole start to this final session.
Well, if that doesn't get the juices flowing, nothing will. Fantastic, and you have to, you know, take your hat off to Barry. He's stuck in there. He's just going about his own, not really worrying about everything, enjoying every minute of it. And you know, if Ronnie thought that he wasn't going to be in a fight, he's got another thing coming. He's laid down the marker there, Barry Hawkins, and fantastic break, great start.
Well, John and Steve, a feature of this match as well has been the fact that Ronnie has never really flinched when Hawkins has come back at him and has always seemed to have an extra gear. That's what we've seen time and time again in this match, Steve.
Yes, you know, he's got a bit of breathing space, but obviously Barry Hawkins, for most of his career, has been underrated. I don't think we're going to be underrating him from here on in. But Ronnie O'Sullivan can always move up the gears, but he's got to do it once again. If Barry Hawkins keeps with him, you never know.
John, just describe what it's like as one of the 2 gladiators coming into this arena on the final night. You remember it well, I'm sure.
Very, very special, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The analogy I'm going to give here for all the racing fans is what's happened in this. It's a bit like Frankel. Every time a good horse got to Frankel's quarters, he pulled away again and sickened them. And this is what it's been like in this match. Every time Barry Hawkins has got a little bit closer to him, it looks like he got a chance, he's pulled away again.
Okay. Back we go.
Well, now, can Barry win 2 or 3 frames in a row? That would really put the cat amongst the pigeons. You can see how Ronnie would react to that. Easier said than done. 2 cushions to line to the bottom of the pack here. We may have left the red
Touching ball.
No, doesn't know 100% where the cue ball's going to end up. He'll be screwing back here, hoping to finish on the blue or maybe a bolt colour even.
Made sure of that, Stephen, didn't he, by putting that little bit of side on. You saw when it hit the cushion there, it just sprung off the cushion with loads of side. If he'd played it plain ball, it wasn't bound to get top side of the blue, and because the red was near the blue, didn't want to risk playing for the blue. Couldn't have hit it better.
Yeah, Barry will be a little bit disappointed there, his escape. It wasn't a tough escape to get that cue ball safe. Such a innocuous shot. We know what Sullivan's like, he could lose a frame from this.
Five. Six.
Looks like the pink may have to go in the black spot, which won't be a problem. That should be a good thing for Ronnie.
Yes, looks like the red on the pink spot will pot, so
12.
he may be reluctant to pot the pink off the next red because he'll have to put the pink out of play. That's why he's leaving that red on the black spots. So he keeps the pink in open play on the black spot. It's got
13.
fabulous, I mean, the cue ball movement Ronnie gets with very little power, Stephen. I think that's the key on these tables, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see that the tip of his cue comes right back to his thumb, and then he's able to give him to go right through the cue ball. Timing is impeccable.
$18.
Well, the first sign of weakness
18.
of the evening's play has come from Ronnie O'Sullivan, and that was a shot you didn't see coming. Now, if this red's on the cushion, there's no problem, but if it's off the cushion, these pockets are tough. Well done. And an excellent chance to go into the pack. Barry played one of these this afternoon, Stephen. He's screwed into the pack, but this is not a pack you can screw into, is it?
No, I think the furthest red to the left, if he stuns into that one, I think that's the shot to play. He doesn't want to screw into it, as you say, because the cue ball can come back towards him. Oh, he's played that perfectly. He'll be unlucky if he's not on one here.
Well, I can't tell you, as Stephen suggested, how good did he hit this, and not to have an easier red than this. The red will cut into the middle, so he'll have to go in and out of balk again to get onto the blue.
Eight.
He's got an angle in the green, it's perfect to go into the bunch here off one cushion. All the reds are blocking each other, so I think that's the shot to play. It's a big target between black and pink.
And he's played it, Stephen, because he needs to make something happen at this end. Once again, he would have expected the pink and
11.
possibly the black to come into play at the same time. He's played two great shots in this break and has not been rewarded. This is tricky. I can't see how he can't kiss into the other red, so I don't see how he's going to get onto a colour here.
12.
Yeah, he's going to use the red as a stopper to slow down for the pink. Excellent shot. Just screwed off the second red, Stephen. He obviously knew that was on.
He can play off one cushion and cannon the red that's closest to the pink here. He would leave himself red to the right corner. He can also, just as he's playing a plain ball, which is just as good. Yeah, that's very good. The only thing that is maybe knocked one of the reds into a safer position.
18.
He's got a lot of reds to miss here when playing for the pink or the blue off this red, and he's played it pretty well. Well done.
19.
Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea to hold the spot here, but if he screwed back about an inch, it's okay. Still not a frame-winning chance where the balls are at the minute. Nothing hurts you more, Stephen, does it, when your opponent misses an easy shot and you go out and clear the table? This
5.
We'll get a chance to show you the red that Ronnie missed a few minutes ago, and this was it. How on earth did he miss that?
No, he's just flicked a little bit of right-hand side on, slightly decelerated with the cue. Just pulled the cue ball over to the right-hand side. So, but you're right. If Barry can win this frame from here, I mean, we've seen before in the match, as soon as he's got closer, Sullivan's just pulled away again. But certainly, I'll ask a question. And he's looking solid. I must admit, he doesn't look like missing.
Yes, he's looking as good as he has in the whole tournament. He played well against Ding Junhui. He played well against Mark Selby. Didn't play particularly well in the semi-final until the last few frames. But this is undoubtedly his best performance for the championship so far on the biggest stage. Oh, it's worth playing a little shot on the red and black here. He'd like to kiss the black, then he's bound to be on the red in the middle. But he may play for the loose red. What would you play here, Stephen?
I suppose if you're playing the cannon in the black, if you do miss it, at the very least you've got the red closest to the left corner. If you play at the right pace. Problem with playing for the one in the open is, if you don't get on it, it might be your only chance to be on a red. Well, in fact, he's played direct for this red and he doesn't want to be straight. Needs a bounce.
38.
Yes, fortunately, he's got the red in the opposite corner, which is not straight. But with this being off the cushion, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, these are tough. The pink's available should it go in. He's at the correct pace, give the pocket a chance. This now the big shot. Any harder, as it's hit the near jaw, this wouldn't have gone in.
Well, if this was a Sullivan playing his breaks in the first two frames,
45.
quite rightly would be give him all the praise in the world. So this is phenomenal snooker from Barry Hawkins.
It's all about the black and the red, isn't it? We know he can get onto this one loose red to the left of the pink, but in a couple of shots' time he's going to have to find a shot to bring one of these reds into play. He's playing brilliantly at the moment, he really is. He's 34 in front, so red and pink 52. Is 41, so he needs another red and colour. So where does the next red come from after this?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an angle in the pink to the right corner to follow through for even if you missed the cannon, you'd be on the red and the right cushion. And he's come too far across the table to play that shot, so he'll just be playing for the red.
53.
That's closest to the left corner pocket here.
This is the problem now, he's got to leave a angle because he needs a colour off this next red. Needs a bounce. He's got a bounce so he can play for the pink in the middle. This is 59. Huge. This is the first time he's really punished O'Sullivan from an easy miss. Brilliant.
60.
Harry's made 60 from here, Stephen. I don't know.
Brilliant, Snooker. That's all you can say.
66.
Now Ronnie will carry on should he miss it, so he could do with playing a good safety shot here.
Barry Hawkins.
It was an excellent
66.
break. Sometimes 66 is not enough, but at this stage it looks like it could be. Got to be a little careful. You can see him coming round to look at the angle that this red could be planting the green into the corner, so he certainly won't be making that happen. And he'll probably take this red on, trying to get onto the pink or black. As always at Sheffield on finals night. We've got a gentleman as Ronnie O'Sullivan goes in off, which I'm sure that'll be the end of the frame, but as Ronnie, the gentleman that he is going to let Barry have the table time.
One.
Ronnie O'Sullivan didn't score in the first frame. He's scored 18 points in this frame, but missed a very easy red. I just wonder whether once again he can produce the form that Stephen talked about when he's gone behind or when he's looked in danger. He's just suddenly made a century.
6 and a frame.
Well, the red's not got in, but what a fabulous start from Barry Hawkins. 127 to make it 15-11, 66 to make it 15-12.
The gap was 5, now it is 3. And just assess the quality of that break that we saw there from Barry Hawkins, Steve.
He's just playing the match of his life here. And Ronnie O'Sullivan walked out. I mean, if it wasn't Ronnie O'Sullivan, it was somebody else, I could say that they'd be thinking, what have I got to do to get this guy to go to bed, you know, like, what have I got to do? He keeps coming back at me. Ronnie O'Sullivan's not necessarily the type of person that does that, but he still felt the need to walk out the room.
Indeed, and what do you detect now about the confidence levels of Hawkins? 2 in a row and very, very astutely done.
Oh, I mean, that was a magnificent break. Stephen's quite right in commentary. If O'Sullivan would have made that, we've been waxing lyrical about it for God knows how long. It was absolutely fantastic. But at the moment, he's putting pressure on him. This is a massive frame coming up. I know they all are, but if he can get this one as well and then have a chance with the one frame before the mid-session interval, game on.
You know, Barry said earlier before this match, Ken, and I quote, everyone loves an underdog, and I was a massive outsider before the start. Hopefully people will warm to me and the neutrals may start to go on my side. Do you detect that?
Absolutely. They wanted to go right to the wire, and you could sense that from the crowd. They don't want an early night. I know Ronnie does, but Barry certainly doesn't want an early night, and that was probably, I mean, we talk about some of the centuries and some of the breaks that Ronnie has made, but Barry Hawkins under pressure won't make a better 66 break probably in his life, and one of the most important breaks that he's made.
And we all know that over the years, and he's been 17 years a pro, he is one of the best match players that we've had around. He's very hard, he's rock solid, this man.
Absolutely, Hazel. You never get an easy match with Barry Hawkins, and we saw that in the semi-final where he couldn't pot a ball in the first 16 frames. His highest break was 47. Everybody thought there was no chance of winning the match. He went 4 frames behind at 12-8, and then suddenly, with the help, I'm sure, of his coach Terry Griffiths, found the mindset to dig deep, and eventually won, I think it was 6 or 7 frames on the trot to get back into the match, and 8 frames on the trot it was, and then of course he closed the match out in style. But Stephen, we've known Barry for a long time, and we know what a great player he is, but to produce it at the Crucible in the final says a lot for his character.
A bad error from O'Sullivan there. Pretty straightforward safety shot there. I know the red was making it awkward on the right cushion, but it's not the sort of mistake O'Sullivan makes. And that's got to give Hawkins some heart as well. Yeah, it wasn't just the way he came back in his semi against Walden his last 2 sessions. It was the scoring power. He made 2 centuries, he made 60s, 70s, so he really found his scoring range, and he's continued that on in this final. Maybe landed just a little bit straight in this black. He can screw back for a red to the right centre.
Eight.
Yes, he's made 8 breaks over 60, including those couple of centuries. And the only thing, he's lost 3 or 4 frames from making a 40 break. So if he can turn all those 40s into 60s and 70s, because at this moment in time he's playing better than O'Sullivan. And there's another example. He looks like he really fancies the job.
Couldn't go into the pack with more pace there because the red and the cushion, the red to the right, was stopping him do that. He's played a nice cannon there. Still perfect position. He'd love to have an angle this time to go into the reds.
Yeah, the pack's now nice, isn't it? If he can get where he's pointing his cue there and then play the joint of those 2 reds just to the right of the cue ball at the minute, those reds will be perfect. Now has he got that angle?
70.
Not quite to be perfect, so he may have to play for the red along the cushion. He'll try and get that angle soon though.
$24.
The red was just off the cushion, and it just makes those shots tricky. But it was the shot landing straight in the black that was a careless one.
Yeah.
If there's one fault when he's in the balls, Willie, he tends to do that a lot, leave himself straight on the black.
I mean, even though he's managed to get position, he's done it about 4 or 5 times tonight already, but it didn't cost him. As you rightly say, that wasn't the bad shot, it was the one before. He looked at the angle he needed on the black and didn't get it. Now then, Mr. O'Sullivan, you've done it. Every time you've been in trouble in this match, you've produced.
Thank you. Next one. 1.
That was the angle that Barry was looking for on his previous black. Play that little cannon there.
8.
And he couldn't have played it better because this frees another 2 reds. You can see there the 2 reds potting in this pocket as well. Not perfect on either red, but
16.
no problem in playing the red in the middle.
$17. 22. $23.
Now has an angle to cannon the red that's just to the right of the line of 4. He can play for the red that's open to the right hand side, but I think Ronnie will play the cannon. In fact, he's just put the cue ball out. He has got a red to the left corner.
Didn't look on, Stephen, from our commentary vision, did he? I agree with you there, but at least he can bring the other 2 or 3 reds into play here with his shot, the fact that he's finished low.
31. $38. $39.
I feel pretty certain I'll make a cannon this time into the 3 reds. Well, I'm surprised he didn't. There, he had a perfect angle. I need to make sure he gets an angle this time.
Yes, he's running out of reds, Stephen, isn't he? These 3 reds are all not possible at the moment. So he's played purposely on the pink rather than the black there, because he can flick the red away and leave 2 reds in the corner. Well done. Barry Hawkins missed a trick, didn't he, when he was 53. In the balls, and we thought he was possibly going to win 3 on the trot, but as we've talked about all match, Ronnie with his back against the wall suddenly finds something.
Yeah, we talked about that Barry had to play almost perfect snooker tonight if he was going to win this match, and that meant every positional shot.
61.
No easy misses. I'm afraid he's done that in this frame, and it's cost him.
62.
Well, there's Ronnie O'Sullivan Jr. I remember him last year when Ronnie won the trophy. He's looking on intently, knowing that his father is just about to possibly stretch the lead to 4 again. So 45 in front, just the red.
69.
To stop the little mini rot. What a time to do it. Hawkins made 127.66. Was on 24, missed that red we all know along the cushion that's cost him. Ronnie O'Sullivan's reply has been superb.
77. Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Hawkins
77.
looks at the scoreboard. He's decided to carry on, but what a fabulous break from O'Sullivan that was. 53 in it, 43 on, so 3 4-point penalty snookers needed.
Thanks, Barry. Thank you. 1. Barry
Hawkins decided that's enough. Ronnie O'Sullivan's happy with that. Ronnie O'Sullivan made a break of 77, and it reduces it. Well, he increases the lead to 16-12. And there's a key shot, Stephen, in that game where Barry was in the balls, and we mentioned make sure you get an angle on the black, and you said he'd not been doing that very much in the match. He finished straight too many times.
Yeah, it's something that may look like a tiny thing to the viewers at home, but this is so important when you're building breaks, and not to finish straight in the black. And here you see he's played a brilliant first 2 frames, he's in the balls again, and that's just so careless to leave yourself straight in the black. He wanted to play the same shot that Ronnie played a little bit later on. There, that's exactly where he wanted to be, to can in the middle of those 3 reds to the right of the pack. Unfortunately, he got straight in the black and was forced to play a really tricky red along the cushion.
We've seen these missed so many times, haven't we, Stephen, throughout the tournament, where the ball's just off the cushion. Now, if it's on the cushion, Why is it so much easier when they're on a cushion to pot them?
Oh, good question. When they're touching the cushion, you sort of play to hit the ball and the cushion at the same time, and the red grips the cushion a lot easier. When they're slightly off, he's slightly decelerated there, and you have to be so much more exact because you can't hit the cushion and the red at the same time.
But had every chance to win the third frame of the evening. He hasn't done. One more frame before the mid-session interval. What he wouldn't do for a winning break in this frame.
Thank you. Frame 29. Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
You'd always fancy getting the double kiss here, but Barry's played this really well, this shot. He's going to play now with check side back into balk. You'd think he'd be a certainty to get a double kiss, but he's missed a double kiss so far. Played it well again. Just pushed the red, though, over the corner.
One.
You'd have expected to be on a balk colour there with that red. OK, he didn't have a lot of idea where the cue ball would end up, but playing just in and out of balk. And I can only presume that must have rolled off on the slate. There's a slate there, and of course there's a crack in the slate, and it was very easy to get in behind the green. He's just having a little smile there. Let's have a look, see if we can detect it. Let's just pull to the right.
Cue ball, but he's left the red to the left corner here. Natural path, as long as he doesn't hit it too thin to go behind the black and the cue ball back up to balk.
He'd have been coming out this evening, Barry, thinking if I can win 3 of the 4, just to put Ronnie under a little bit of pressure. He's got a chance to do that now if he can take this frame. Where's the red? Just managed to miss it. Good shot.
Yeah, we've said on a few occasions, haven't we? It's when your opponent needs 2 frames to win, you've got a little bit of leeway. If Ronnie gets to 17, obviously things will start to look pretty grim.
That was the problem. That's what Stephen Henry said at his last long shot he played. The angle was perfect, as long as he hit it thin. Exactly the same shot, only on the other side of the table. Completely mishit it. What a chance for Barry Hawkins.
Well, what a time if he could possibly win the frame at this visit, because Ronnie was really irritated at that last miss, or that last mishit, because it was a complete mishit.
Yes, if he gets the pot, he goes round the back of the black, and you don't expect to hit them that poorly. I think he can get through to the red as near as the pocket.
8.
No, I'm afraid he can't. There you can see it's not on. So he's got 2 more good shots to play to get back into position. Needs to get back on the... Oh, goodness me, he's missed that by a mile.
Barry Hawkins, 8.
That's a shame because he cued so beautifully in the opening 2 frames. I don't know whether he got a bad... Well, I can only presume he must have got a bad contact because he did miss that by more than you could imagine. I think that was a bad contact.
Six. 7. 14.
He'll free
15.
the black pocket off the next shot and then off the next red. He'll be leaving an angle on the black to go into the pack. It's not great because the red directly above the black is not in position. Maybe how to get low on that red to bring other reds into play. We'll just see what angle he leaves himself on this next black.
22. 23.
Unless the one pots that's just below the pink, he'll be going into them. And there's another example of how to stun into the pack. Okay, he would like Barry a couple of shots, a couple of frames ago. A little
30.
unlucky not to be on anything easier. Couldn't have played that shot better. Split them beautifully. Stephen mentioned you don't really worry till somebody gets to 17. It looks like Ronnie O'Sullivan could get to 17 at this visit.
Yeah, it's been a case of 1 step forward,
38.
2 steps back in this final for Barry Hawkins. He just can't seem to win that 3rd or 4th frame in a row just to really get into this match. He's drawn level once at 7-7. Apart from that, he's just never been able to get close enough
39.
to really put the pressure on Ronnie.
In the whole tournament, O'Sullivan
44.
only been behind once, and that was when Barry Hawkins won 3 frames on the trot to go from 2-0 to 3-2 in front, and that's the only time Ronnie's
45.
been behind. Every time, as Stephen mentioned, that Barry Hawkins is threatened, Ronnie's suddenly found another gear.
Yep, it's a sign of greatness. It separates the good players
52
from the great.
53. 58.
Choice of reds, one in the corner, one in the middle. Needs red colour, red to be sure of winning this frame and going to the interval at 2-all, and that didn't look like that was going to happen after the first two and a bit frames. Barry Hawkins hadn't missed a ball until the red along the cushion, which has cost him dearly.
59.
Won't be playing, I want to think, for the red along the cushion because it's missable. That's why he's played for the red in open play, to make sure of the frame.
66. 67.
Well, it's produced again. There's his family and friends. They'll be absolutely delighted the way when his back's against the wall, he's produced every single time.
74. 75.
Well, his son's in the crowd, his family and friends. Robbie and Debbie Corrigan. I don't know, that was Ronnie Jr.
81.
Just give him a little cheer there. He knows the frame's safe now.
82.
This is just wonderful snooker, isn't it? This 4 frames has been absolutely top draw.
$88.
Well, what a shame. I thought O'Sullivan was going to make a century.
88 on the
But
frame.
what a fabulous 4 frames of
Ronnie
snooker.
O'Sullivan.
127, 66, 77 and 88. O'Sullivan looking good now. He leads 17-12.
And he's scoring so quickly out there. You've got to take your hat off to him for that, Ken, but also the resilience that he himself has had to show, not just Barry Hawkins in this match.
Yeah, and every time, you know, Barry Hawkins has tried to push him and get close to him, it's just like he goes through the gears. I mean, he plays a lot of shots in that break that look very simple. Well, John and I are just eulogising over it. I mean, they're so difficult, some of the shots. It's just, you know, you're totally mesmerised by him. And when you're playing against him, you know, it's so difficult because there's so much pressure on every shot. Your safety, you know, you're potting. If you miss when you're in the balls, you just know he's just going to pounce. And even though Barry Hawkins is doing everything he possibly can to put him under pressure, any single chance that Ronnie is getting, he's just maximising every single opportunity. It's fantastic to watch.
You know, when he hits it, there's a different sound.
Yeah.
There's a different sound on the ball. You know, when you've done next to someone on a golf who can really hit it and you hear it get compressed, when he hits it, it's just different. Everything goes in the middle of the bag. There's just a different sound to his cueing and everything. And when he goes left-handed and screws back reverse side, well, I'm just that guy. I mean, honestly, I'd knock people's ears off. And this fella's screwing back and this and blah, blah. I mean, it'd be an argument he'd be in the top 16 left-handed. I mean, this boy's just ridiculously talented.
Maybe that's the next task. Maybe he'll try and come back next year and perhaps try and win it left-handed.
I think he could tie both arms together, to be honest with you.
Well, only 2 men have been able to win back-to-back championships at the Crucible. Steve Davis is one of them. Stephen Hendry is the other. It was pretty difficult enough when you had a season's play under your belt. Assess for us the magnitude of what he's taken on here and what it would mean were he to win it. He's 1 away now.
I think people doubted whether he could come back after a season out, as if he'd lost too much ground against some great players who were queuing up to win this event beforehand, all staking a claim as the season unfolded. And Ronnie just sat back and obviously wasn't really particularly interested at the time in playing. He was umming and ahhing whether to play in it. And we didn't really know what to expect when he did turn up for this event, whether he was going to be too rusty enough to get over the line, especially the first round. You know, for mere mortals at the game, it may have been too much. But Ronnie O'Sullivan is just the most amazing player we've ever seen in the game. And I think, you know, it just shows you how great he is, because it looks very much like he's going to convert this and win again. And just in awe, I think we all are.
I think we are in awe this evening, gentlemen, what he's produced. It's extraordinary stuff, isn't it?
I mean, it's like, you know, Tiger Woods from 99 to 2001. You can't play any better than that. That's impossible. This boy plays like this all the time. When he's on it, he is better than anyone who's ever held a cue.
He is on it tonight, that's for sure. Well, Ronnie's progress has been the main story, the thread that's dominated the entire championship. But there have been other issues to discuss, and particularly with a chock-a-block snooker tour now that's in Australia, in Asia, and all over Europe. Well, there's an issue that has been dominating here, and it's what has happened to some of the other leading lights in the game. Is burnout to blame?
Sometimes shocks happen. It's part of the game. I should know. I lost to Stuart Bingham here in 2000 as defending champion. And who could forget Tony Knowles beating a certain Steve Davis 10-1 in the first round.
Embassy World Champion has been defeated by Tony Knowles.
A moment of triumph for the underdog. A world of pain for the favourite. Nerves, luck, a quirk of fate. This has been one of those years. We've seen the top seeds fall at the first hurdle.
I think a lot of the players have got beat because they've had hard seasons, first of all. They've seen the draw open up and thought, my God, this is my turn, I'm going to be world champion. It's not worked out for them, and also there's some really good players that are just below the top 16, the top 32. Maybe aren't 30 players that can win this tournament, but there are 30 or 40 players who can create a shock.
A new reason was given for their early exit: burnout.
Slow down, slow down. You'll only get burnout.
I don't know whether it's been a long season travelling here, there, and I just had nothing left coming into the World Championships. It's hard to put my finger on what it is. I mean, I was confident coming here, probably had the best season I've had this year, and it's just disappointing to end it how it was.
I'll need to maybe look at the calendar, the way I play in the events, because I think I need to really play, practice and get ready for events, whereas instead of with the calendar as you're rolling on from one tournament to the next, and if you're picking up some bad habits, it's just like a vicious merry-go-round. I think I'll definitely have to look at now maybe missing a couple of events to try to get yourself now ready.
After winning China, I don't know if I did the best thing for me practice-wise after that. Probably the issue coming into this tournament, I never really stepped up to practice at all. I was just doing sort of an hour or two a day. And I thought I was hitting the ball okay, but you know, when you're under pressure, that's when the practice sort of really kicks in and makes sure that you're going to still cue well under pressure. And my cueing went off a little bit sort of during the match, and perhaps down to maybe not practicing enough for this, but it's very difficult.
I think people don't believe that you can be burnt out playing snooker like maybe more physical sports, but I think mentally some of these players look as if they've just about had enough, and that's got to be. They've got to look at how their season is structured, because most players at some point this year have been out of form. With snooker, once you just lose that edge, it's very difficult to get it back without having a short break from the game. That usually refreshes your mind, and these guys have not been able to do that.
There used to be complaints that there weren't enough tournaments. Now we're being told that there's too many. This is a professional sport, not just a hobby.
Just need a rest.
This talk of burnout amongst the snooker players is the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard in my life about anything. If they don't like it, they should go and get a proper job and see how the man in the street has to live, getting up at 7 o'clock, going to work, and being out all hours working to pay the bills. If they don't like it, leave.
I love the game, so all the other players sort of saying fatigue, this and burnout, I think it's a load of rubbish.
I think there's obviously a lot of excuses for a lot of people, but I think a lot of people are unfit, and for a professional sport I think a lot of people should be going to the gym more and keeping more in their appearance.
It doesn't go down too well with me at all. Burnt out really actually gets me quite annoyed, because I say, look, be a professional. Are you fit enough? Is your diet right? Is your lifestyle right? You're playing snooker. I know it's tough flying around the world and staying in 5-star hotels and earning loads of money. Please don't come to me with excuses, because you know what? When these players win, no winner has ever said to me, I'm burnt out. If I was you boys, keep quiet, be professional, put the work in, and you know what? You have the ultimate exit. You don't have to play.
The sport is evolving, the season has expanded, and tournaments are coming thick and fast. But like all change, it takes time to adjust. And if players want to stay at the top of their game, they'll need to get used to it.
So, is it an excuse for poor performance? I don't know. What is the problem? And if there is a problem, what's the solution, Ken?
Well, I think, there's a couple of lads there mentioned, I think it's very important to be fit, a good diet. I don't think all the players can play in every single event. I think they will have to pick and choose their events. Listen, we're living in the best time snooker's ever seen. We have so many opportunities to play, so many tournaments around the world to go to. But I think, definitely, I think players, particularly at the top, and the guys who are getting to the business end of tournaments, they will pick and choose. For the rest of them, they will be scrapping for the crumbs maybe. But it's a great situation to be in. Hey, I wish I was burnt out, let me tell you.
Exactly.
And I'm sure a lot of the other guys wish they were burnt out as well. But what the guys did say, and I think it's a very valid point, they are professional sportsmen. They should be delighted that there are so many tournaments. And also, it's more important, they have to act professionally, they have to get fit and watch their diet. It's very important.
As you say, it's a nice problem to have, and we've seen this in tennis, we've seen it in golf, where sportsmen and women have to structure their season in order to be able to peak for something. It's a really difficult art to be able to master, Steve.
Yes, and I think for the World Championship, you have to psych yourself up more so and be prepared more so for the onslaught that is a 2-week event than the other events. And from that perspective, I think it does require a little bit more preparation. And if there are tournaments backed right up to it, then that is a bit of a problem. What does happen is, those interviews we've seen from the players, they've gone straight after losing, they've gone straight into the room. They're trying to work out why it didn't work for them on the day. They're trying to come up with an idea. They're looking for some reason why it didn't work this time. So obviously they will look at the things and analyse every part. If you ask them in a couple of months' time, was that the reason? They may still say yes, because they may still feel like they do need more time for the big events. But who knows, the winners don't say that. It's quite fascinating how it pans out.
Burnout. Barry Hawkins is playing his 101st match of the season, more than anybody, and he's in this final.
Well, they're all individuals. Some will find it tough and some won't, and the travelling will get to some people and won't the others. But the thing with the nature with this event is the hardest one to win, and it comes right at the end of your season. That's when it comes, so you're always going to get shocks and anomalies through it, and some people will be all right, and ones will say they've been to semis and quarters and finals and everything, will say I'm burnt out, and others, and you know, it's just one of those things. Listen, to have the opportunity to play and the way the circuit's been turned around, they're going to have to get used to it.
Indeed, yeah. Well, burnout might have been a problem for some of the players. It's certainly been a problem for some of the pundits, but I think it's self-inflicted, judging from the size of their bar bill. At any rate, the last 17 days have passed once again in a slightly surreal blur, and because we can hardly remember what happened this morning, we've got a comedian, Andy Zeltzman, to review the championship for us this time.
The tournament began with all eyes on the returning champion, back from his snooker sabbatical, Ronnie O'Sullivan, the Beethoven of breakbuilding, the Shakespeare of shot-making, the Da Vinci of developing the Reds, the man known as the Mozart of snooker, was back. Early on, he wasn't quite at his mind-bending best. But even Mozart would have taken a couple of concertos to crank back up to speed after a year out of composing. Ebdon against Dott, a match that crawled along so slowly that at one point it seemed that Peter Ebdon had hibernated on the table. At one stage, Peter Ebdon disappeared for 4 minutes between frames, giving Dott some quality time alone with himself to ponder on ways to speed snooker up. The answer, this music. If we had this as our national anthem, we would be the most productive nation in the world. 4 Crucible debutants were knocked out in the first round, proving that there is no substitute for experience. 4 former champions were also knocked out in the first round: Higgins, Ebdon, Williams and Robertson, proving that there is a substitute for experience. But one of the first-timers who did make it through was Thailand's Dechawat Poomjang. Poom, poom! He shook the room! He applauded his own shots as if the balls were his children in an unexpectedly flawless nativity play. He waved the balls into the pocket like a trainee shepherd with a disappointing new sheepdog. He knocked out Stephen Maguire 10-9 in a first-round thriller. Maguire suggested that Dechawat was not the full shilling, that he was a John Virgo short of the full commentary box. He even tried to leave the arena by the wrong exit. Where's the screwball going? In the first round, Dechawat did pretty much everything short of coming out for the deciding frame dressed as a pantomime horse. Sadly, in the second round, he might as well have done that, because not only did fellow debutant Michael White make mincemeat out of him, but also, at one point, he was reduced to grazing on the beautifully mown Crucible turf.
Dechawat Poomjang, 32.
Further into the second round, and there were more shocks, and some electrifying snooker. But Graham Dott didn't have quite enough spark. and he lost to Shaun Murphy. This set up a quarter-final showdown with the 2011 finalist Judd Trump, who'd avoided the carnage of the early rounds despite this miss, which provoked this reaction from his opponent. To be fair to Dominic Dale, he wasn't actually concentrating on the snooker at the time. He'd just heard that Hazel Irvine had displaced Angela Merkel as Forbes magazine's most powerful woman in the world.
Anything's possible.
Trump was instrumental in arguably the biggest showdown of the second round. Referee Arian Williams against the miss rule.
Oh, miss.
Poor Arian. It was like trying to piece back a watermelon after a food fight, I've heard. Elsewhere in round two, world number one Mark Selby was knocked out and complained about burnout.
I don't know whether it's been a long season travelling here, there, and I just had nothing left coming into the World Championships.
Snooker Supremo Barry Hearn then complained about Selby complaining about burnout.
I know it's tough flying around the world and staying in five-star hotels and earning loads of money. Please don't come to me with excuses.
Yeah, they used to have best of 145 frame finals, so careful what you wish for. And besides, as Barry himself would no doubt say, burnout? Before I came along, there wasn't even a fire. Now dress up like a marshmallow and toast yourself. What was that other second round match? Quiet, please, I'm dinking. Ding King! It was Ding against King in the kind of rhyming snooker matchup that Bill Werbenet could only have dreamed of. Mark King played the shot of this tournament that most resembled 1950s America. It went all over the place, unsuccessfully trying to locate the reds. Boom! That's one for all you Cold War fans out there. Come quarter-final time, and the Rocket was starting to look more unbeatable than a hungry whale in a plankton-eating competition.
And it's now 7-0.
He took 12 of the first 13 frames as Stuart Bingham went down faster than a buttered baby down a well-waxed water slide. The Rocket can play snooker that few can match, and he can find threats to retire that other players wouldn't even see. He's one of the world's few certifiable sporting geniuses, a man who can play snooker so beautiful it makes you want to sit your children on your knee, point at the television and say, "Watch this, this is why I had you." Don't tell your mother I said that. Trump and Murphy played out the match of the championships, a seesawing classic that culminated in another fraught final frame frenzy. And in a finale more intense than the Glastonbury crowd at bedtime, Trump triumphed. And so we had the first all-English semi-final lineup since 1991. Hands up if you put money on a Barry Hawkins v Ricky Walden semi-final. If you've got your hands up, put your hands down again. You're a liar. Or you're a very close family member of both Hawkins and Walden, and you're a liar. Their decades of dedication to the infinite crafts of hitting a tiny little white ball with a big pointy stick in a darkened room, and their lifetime of frankly unnatural expenditure on waistcoats have paid off in style. Hawkins hung in there, battled back, and after beginning the tournament with a played 9, lost 7 Crucible record, was about to have a much busier Maybank holiday than he's used to. Neither Trump nor O'Sullivan could quite find their fluent best. For once, physics was not doing what it was told.
Don't think it's there. I don't think it's there. He's left this green on. He's left it on.
Sure, there were breaks, but not always the kind of breaks you'd want in a world semi-final.
Well, the last time I heard a noise like that, I think it was playing against Big Bill Werbenet.
And it was Ronnie who was told off for naughty snooker. But in the end, Ronnie made it through. He'd mixed a trademark cocktail of technical brilliance with the iron will of a champion, still the magician of his youth, but with 20 years of added experience. If snooker is not for you, Ronnie, then being on stamps isn't for the Queen. Are you going to be the man to tell her that? Really? So now, as many people predicted, it's all come down to the final. Again, as tournaments do generally. This championship has had it all, and at the end of it, we're left with one man seemingly born to play in World Snooker Finals, and another man who maybe thought he'd never get there. Thanks be to snooker. Amen.
Brilliant, Andy Zeltsman. Thank you very much. Well, there's no hibernation at this table, I can assure you of that. We've had a wonderful final here in 2013. And Ronnie, one frame away from joining Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry as the only men to retain a world title at the Crucible. But more than that, he's on the verge of one of the greatest achievements in any sport, any time. And taking the final stint in the commentary box of this year's championship is a former world champion and ex-UK champion, Messrs Taylor and Virgo.
Barry Hawkins to break.
Thank you, Hazel. Barry Hawkins breaks off. What he hopes is not his last frame. Can he produce the snooker that he did at the start of this evening? Breaks of 127 and 66. If you've done it once, Barry, you can do it again. He really did look good, John. I was watching that, and he never looked like missing, Barry.
Unbelievable. I think it's the best in the first frame. When he made that marvellous 127, it's the best he's cued in this match. Just had a bit of a setback when he missed a red along the cushion, but you could have seen him winning all the 4 frames before the mid-session interval, and then we would have had a titanic struggle, but that's what happened. You miss, and you leave Ronnie O'Sullivan in amongst the balls. And he's just a magician. But you just get the feeling that Barry still believes.
Already going to be a little bit of an awkward frame with the red up the other side of the table. So behind the black is now the safety area. Not quite. Barry can play a better one than Ronnie. Can he judge it? This looks good. Just a bit too far, but still got it tight on the cushion. You can't get back with the white tucked up there.
At the moment, Barry in control of this little safety exchange, but with the red so tightly packed, it's hard to force your opponent into a mistake. But the target will be try and get that cue ball in tight behind the black again.
Oh, what's he done here? That was a little bit careless. Has he got enough angle to give himself a possible chance at the black? Might be able to come off the other red and get a bit closer to the black. No, it was a very difficult situation. He couldn't really play it any harder, striking over that red, and he just couldn't get. But he can roll tight up behind the black, off the cushion. Oh, that's a little careless. There's a shot for the middle now for Ronnie.
Hawkins, 1.
He's not taking it. good pot, but he was concentrating on the safety there. But that was interesting to see. He's not taking any chances, Ronnie. Looked like he could roll the other red to the middle, but he wants to wait for a better chance.
Yes, it was a good pot, but by the looks of it, doesn't look as though he snookered Barry, which is a little bit careless. So Barry may be able to get his cue ball back behind the black. And the reds are spread now. Purposely tried to play it into the green, but he didn't hit the green full enough. Well, he's left a red to the far left corner, but he could have left something easier.
A round of applause from Ronnie Jr. He's just overscrewed that slightly, but it's a little cutback. And it's there. How's the cannon? It's not bad. He's got the one to the middle pocket. If he can't see this one to the left corner, well, if he can see the one to the left corner, Barry knows that this is a great chance for Ronnie.
9.
I know there's a long way to go, but great champions usually finish in style.
16. 17.
You know, John, when you speak at dinners and that, and I usually do a little thing, who's the 3 greatest players that's ever played the game of snooker?
22.
And 2 of them are sitting in the studio. And since 1990,
23.
I said Stephen Hendry overtook the great Steve Davis as the greatest player that ever played. And I had Ronnie at number 3. But if he goes on to win this year's World Championship, I'd have to put him at the top of the list and say that he is the
28.
greatest player that's ever picked a cue up. My personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think the other 2 players you've mentioned will agree
29.
with you. The most natural talent the game has ever seen, there's no doubt. Somebody said to me the other day that if Ronnie wins the World Championship, what does that say about the other players? I said, well, all they can
36.
do is just say that they played in an era of greatness.
37.
And that's Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Well, he's the defending champion. He's won it on 4 occasions. It's looking good for a 5th
44.
at the moment, but he has a few more to pot yet. But it has to be said,
45.
Barry Hawkins in this final has been superb. He really has put up a fantastic display. And if he had been up against any other player, he could quite easily have been in front, John.
He's played absolutely marvellous, and I think really this will have done Barry the world of good. I know he'd be disappointed if he was to lose, but boy, has he proved to everybody who loves snooker that he is going to be a major contender in many, many World Championships.
50.
He's a great match player, and he's proved that he's got a great temperament.
Right.
Ronnie just having a quick look at the scoreboard. 50 points, the lead, 75 remaining. So just needs 3 of these remaining reds to be sure.
I'm
51.
sure Ronnie will say that Dr. Steve Peters has been a big help to him throughout this year's World Championship. He really has Ronnie in a very positive frame of mind. He's got him mentally in a very happy place, and that's the gentleman
54.
sitting there on the right, leaning. on his knees.
55.
Ronnie does go and stay with him. He's got a room in his house that Ronnie can use. And this has been absolutely fantastic. Ronnie Jr., well, they're all very pleased.
And as you say, Dennis, like the true champion, he's finishing in style. We love the way he plays. And there's the little fist pump. Well done, Ronnie.
68.
And the thing to remember is that we love
69.
watching him play. And let's hope that this could just give him that urge to carry on.
Yeah, we don't want to hear Ronnie saying he's going to retire. The game needs Ronnie O'Sullivan, and it's very rarely you see that from
75.
the Rocket, but he
76.
must be feeling so good inside. But once again, Barry Hawkins has played his part in this year's World Championship. But this man has done something very, very special here this year. And listen to the crowd.
84.
If he could get a century, it would be a record. It's not going to be a century, but what a fantastic defence of his World Championship. A lot of people didn't think Ronnie O'Sullivan could do it. And Barry Hawkins coming along and congratulates him. What a smashing final we've had. Fair play to both players, but you're looking at a genius there. Ronnie O'Sullivan is the 2013 World Snooker Champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, your appreciation please for both of our finalists this year. A marvellous, marvellous win for Ronnie and a wonderful achievement for Barry Hawkins. Barry, come and have a chat with me. Well, the O'Sullivan family in raptures here. They're enjoying it. That's another one for the family album, isn't it? Barry, I know your family's been here too, and I know that they and we all have appreciated what you've done. You have more than justified yourself in this amazing run. What has made it so difficult to face this man over the past couple of days?
Everything. I tried my hardest, you know, and I've just made a few more mistakes than Ronnie did, and you can't afford to do that against him, because I think he's just unbelievable, to be honest. And the way he makes it look so easy is just frightening for most players, and I'm just pleased the way I made some sort of game of it, you know, and pushed him a little bit. So
I think everyone appreciates that, Barry. Barry, you won the first event of the season. You're runner-up in the last event. Absolutely no trace of burnout from you. How have you done it?
I don't know. Just kept trying hard. I'm sure I'll collapse after tonight, I think, but it's been so hard the last couple of weeks. Come through. Cheers, mate. I love you too. Yeah, it's been so hard the last couple of weeks. Come through so many tough matches, but yeah, I'm obviously delighted to get to the final. But once you're here, you want to try and win it, and kind of come up against a tougher opponent.
Tell us about this experience. The whole family's here. Your little mate, your son Harrison's enjoyed it as well. How special for them? How valuable an experience has this been to you and the whole family, Barry?
Of course it has. It's everybody's dream, you know, to see me play in the world final, and it's most players' dream. But hopefully, I've got a few more years left. Hopefully, I can come back and win it one day. But it's a proud moment for everybody. But shame I lost, but Ronnie's by far the best player in the world, so there's no shame in that at all, really.
Ladies and gentlemen, only 25 men have graced a Crucible final, and this is one of them. They can never take that away from you. Well played, Barry. Well, this is like deja vu, Ronnie. I tell you what, you've done some special things in your time, but this surely has got to top the lot. How have you done it, Ronnie?
I just want to congratulate Barry on a brilliant tournament, brilliant season, and that's the hardest anyone's pushed me, and I felt I was playing okay, so I just couldn't get rid of him. You know, he was just on me, and he was making it look so easy, and I just thought, oh no. But I just hung in there, and you know, it was a brilliant final, and you know, it's just good to be part of it.
You've made it look ridiculously easy at times along the way. Yes, that's the hard bit, as you say. But what's it been like behind the scenes, and to whom do you owe a debt of gratitude, rather?
Obviously, you know, just to Steve Peters has kind of been with me all the way. You know, I don't think I would have won back-to-back world titles if I wouldn't have worked with him, because obviously 17 days is a long time, and everyone knows with me I'm up and down like a whore's jaws.
I think we'll forgive the industrial language.
But
you want to rephrase that, or we'll just plough on, shall we?
it's a bit late, it's live, Hazel.
It sure is, buddy. Tell me this. When you first committed to defending this title 8 weeks ago, honestly, what did you expect?
I didn't know what to expect to be, really. I didn't come here with any... my main motive wasn't to come here and win. It was just I was so kind of bored, sitting on the sidelines, nothing going on, and I just thought, you know, I could do with something to just keep me busy for the next 6 weeks preparing for the World. That's my honest thing. And then obviously coming here, I like Sheffield, I love the tournament, I love being at the Crucible, and so, you know, it's filled a good nice gap of 8 weeks, and I've got to keep busy now, haven't I? Otherwise I'll you know, I could implode. But no, listen, it's been great, you know, just to get something back in my life.
Well, I don't know whether we should say, is it a date, same place, same time next year, or will we see you a couple of times in between?
You know, listen, I've had a great time. I've enjoyed every moment, you know, and I love playing. So I'm definitely going to be playing in some smaller events, because to me that's just pure snooker. Here there's a lot going on, you know, and it's hard, you know. But I just love playing, so I'll definitely be playing in some smaller events, and we'll just see what goes on, you know. But you know, we'll see.
But Sarah Beanie's job in property development is safe for now. You're not going to be going into that. It's still snooker that lights your fire, yeah?
Well, I don't want it to be honest. I want to kind of balance it with doing other stuff. I realised that the year out I didn't really miss snooker. I just miss having something to do. So if I can balance it with other things, then that's the way forward for me. Because you know, you feel trapped sometimes when it's just snooker, and you know, I'm not good at dealing with all the emotions that comes with it. So sometimes I need something on the side just to chill me out a bit.
This is quite a wonderful achievement. It's not just a great achievement in snooker, it's a great achievement in any sport, any place, any time. Your champion, once again for a 5th time, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your presentation party, Barry Orr, the Head of Public Relations at Betfair, and Barry Hearn, the Chairman of World Snooker. Ladies and gentlemen, your runner-up, receiving a cheque for £125,000 and the silver medal. What a fabulous fortnight it's been for Barry Hawkins. The winner, receiving a cheque for £250,000, the trophy and the title, 2013 Betfair World Snooker Champion, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Well, Steve and John, still with me. These are now familiar scenes. Ronnie's done it again, back-to-back world titles. And how much further ahead than the rest was he over the last 17 days, Steve?
I think he played snooker to another level, and it's tough for the players to live with him when he's in any type of mental shape. And, you know, he could just come back again and do it all over again next year. He doesn't seem to be suffering getting near his 40s, as some players have done. A fantastic performance, never really challenged, to be quite honest, by anybody. People got nearly close, he just pulled away again.
Where does this rank in the all-time list of achievements in your sport, John?
I think for him, this is probably his best because of that 11-month stroke 12 months off. I mean, to come here totally cold, not had a match, we were all wondering what the first round was going to be like. He got through that and he got stronger on it. He played one session against Stuart Bingham that was from the gods. If you get a chance to watch that, go on your iPlayer, pick it up and have a look. That is the benchmark for everybody to play snooker.
Indeed. I was going to ask you about everyone else. What do they do now? A man's just walked in after 11 months and walked away with the title. What do the other top players in the game do now? How do they strategise things?
The top player in the game at the moment can only play the standard they can play at. But somewhere is a 12-year-old kid who's watching, who at some stage in the future may even take the game to another level. I know it's hard to believe, and it may be a long, long time before, a bit like Bob Beeman's long jump record. But actually, somewhere down the line, somebody will be inspired enough to put in the hours of practice. Who knows where that's going to be?
John, what do you feel the others have to do now? Can they catch this man when he's in this kind of form anytime?
Well, if he's in this kind of form, there's a big question mark. But listen, we've got a lot of talented players out there. Your Selbys, your Robertsons, all these people. When they're at the best, they can give this fella a game. Don't make no mistake about that. The trouble is, when he's at his best, he's another level to every one of them.
We have indeed. See, John, it's been an absolutely amazing championship. There's been so many twists and turns along the way, but there's one story that's dominated, and it's the story that we have here tonight. In your mind, Steve, you said it would take a superhuman effort to beat him, and he's proved that he's certainly human, all right. He's told us that he cracked up on a couple of occasions almost along the way, but he's been so focused, so determined this time.
Yeah, I think he's shown great temperament, stronger temperament than we've ever seen before, and aside to his game that people doubted he ever had. But he's shown the ability, when pushed under pressure, to completely hold himself together, like no other player has, to be quite honest.
Okay, gentlemen, it's been fascinating. It's been great. I think it's time we took the long rest, the three of us. Thank you very much for your company the last 17 days, and indeed thank you very much for yours. Well, it started out as Mission Impossible, but the rocket, for him, it's mission accomplished. From us all here in Sheffield, good night.